So one day when I first got into bikes over 2 decades ago, I was riding around the streets of Long Beach on a bike Friday, and I ran into someone else on a Brompton with a roll-off modification. Mind you, this was over 2 decades ago. So while those things are less rare now, back then it was a very strange thing. Anyways, I met this older gentleman named Chris, who was a diehard bike tourist since the 1970s, and he became a bit of a bike mentor for me. He's the one that introduced me to Rivendell, to Vintage Bicycle Quarterly before it changed and rebranded to Bicycle Quarterly. And chatting with him, that really directed the path that I've taken ever since. I remember one day on a bike ride, we were talking, he was mentioning some health issues, and he turned to me rather matter of factly and said, I probably got maybe 10 good summers left, 15 if I'm lucky. And for some reason, just the casualness of how he said it, of framing time in summers instead of years, really got to me. In some ways, a year feels so vague, both like imperceptibly long and short at the same time, if you know what I mean. Feels long while you're in it, but short after it's all past. But somehow, thinking of time in terms of summers made it feel more concrete, more quantifiable, and more real. In the moment, I thought it was kind of a novel way of looking at time, but to be honest, it didn't concern me all too much because back then, looking back, I for sure had a vague number of a lot of summers left to ride. Fast forward a few decades, we've had a pandemic, health challenges of our own. Our world is on fire. Our world is at war. And I think about this statement a lot. How many summers do I have left? How many summers do I have left until, my body betrays me, until it gets too hot and smoky to ride outside, until things get so bad that bicycling just feels like a frivolous exercise in futility? And to be honest, this question was one of the reasons we relocated. In living in Montana, there's maybe 2 or 3 months of the year when it wasn't frozen. And of those 3 months, at least a month or two was being taken up by fire season, where if it wasn't burning immediately around us, we were breathing in smoke from Canada, from California, from Oregon. Effectively, those summers turned into a few weeks a year. How many good weeks did we have to ride in a year? So as I get older, this question takes up more space in my mind, and I've become more guarded about my time. Which events do we want to go to? What trips are actually worth it? How and who do we want to ride bicycles with? Time feels less like an endless fountain that constantly flows, but more like a bank account that you're constantly drawing down. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, I have this YouTube channel. I talk about bikes and gear, but to be honest, when I take the long view, when I step back, all the stuff really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you have a 90s mountain bike or not, if you have an artisanally built lug frame or something that came out of the carbon fiber factory. Honestly, I could care less. And while I love playing with the various bikes and doodads and nerding out about them, ultimately they're just tools. I think people lose sight of that. Things that are supposed to help us get to do the thing in capital T. Sometimes I feel like I talk about these things or we talk about these things because if we didn't and just stared down the barrel of time, we'd all go mad. In some ways, we need these trivialities to fill up the empty, scary space, or we just all go insane. I think of this comment that someone left recently who rage quit the channel because I referred to the Tour de France as a ride where some guy wins a yellow shirt. And he took that so deeply personal, he just felt betrayed and couldn't watch the channel anymore. Or when I got sent a message telling me how I was the great capitalist gentrifier worsening the economic divide by being mildly critical of 90s mountain bikes. What are we doing here? It's just bikes, people. It's just bikes. Maybe instead of this petty arguing and the constant rearranging the deck chairs of the Titanic with these trivialities, we stop and ask ourselves, how many summers do we have left and how do you want to spend them? So I hate to break up this moment that we're having, this deep line of philosophical thought, because I do have to do a capitalism and say, if you guys like the channel, the content that we do, the message we're trying to spread, please consider supporting it. It's getting tougher week by week as YouTube becomes more algorithmic and just pushes the more like extreme stuff. It's harder to do just plain educational content where, we're not stunting, doing some ridiculous thing. We still have a few of our party pace caps left. These are kind of like a nice worn in cotton. We still also have some party pace stem caps that were made in the US by Cobra frame building. Or better yet, join us on Patreon. I know subscriptions, but it does give us a budget. It lets us plan to do shows like Bespoked. To Made, we had to reach out and find some sponsors to bridge that gap. But know that every bit helps. I was watching something the other day that said, a lot of people confuse fame with wealth, that just because, people have a large channel that they're somehow super loaded. Just because in the past, to be famous, you were kind of wealthy. But today you can have a big channel and be like just okay. All that to say that we'll probably never, retire or buy a mansion doing this, but we still love doing it. We love meeting folks through the channel, but it does require your support. So support what you love. As always, keep the supple side down.